Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, happy Monday and happy month end. And if you're in Canada, happy election day. The election is happening today. So if you haven't voted, go out and, do your 10 cents, whatever that is. So I thought I would start with a quick video. There's a new startup founded by Amazon's Jeff Bezos, and it's kind of the opposite of every other EV company in the market. It's a company called Slate. So if you're looking for a low-cost EV, let me repeat that, a low-cost EV that's bare bones, rumored price is $20,000. This is a quick 1 minute 32 video on it. Here we go. Oh, you can check it out. I think it's slate.com. It's kind of, they compared it to Mr. Potato Head, which I thought was kind of interesting. It's a little bit of a throwback, but it is what it is. So here we go. I don't get any money from Bezos, just so you know.
Life is about connection. Having a support system to lean on. And roads to endless possibility. At every turn, guiding the way, we are building the connections that move you.
One of the really nice things about Larry, one of the reasons that we brought him to our dealership is he's still very much aligned with our core values. So with our brand, which is thoughtful and professional service. And because that alignment really worked out well, because he was so committed to the success of others, we really knew that he was the right person to spend time with our sales team, with our managers and each sales consultant. And we're just really thrilled to have a partnership with him. And so we thank him.
How do you adventure? Is it fast? Is it free? Is it clear? Is it rugged? Is it remote? For your next adventure, trust MotoClose for buying, selling, trading, and protecting all of your motorized assets. Powered by Diskloz Dealership Management Dashboard, your all-in-one DMS, CRM, menu, lead gen, inventory, staff, client, and deal management solution. Diskloz DMD, like a DMS, only better. Mention promo code AutoHub 2025 to get special pricing, including wave setup costs, no contract, and your first month's free.
Car dealers often underestimate the power of social media. Are you wondering why my face is plastered in your newsfeed? Are you a GM, dealer principal, or a manager at a car dealership wondering why you see me all the time? on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and all over social media. Well, that didn't happen by chance. I target car dealers that are in-market shoppers for social media services, and I'm going to do the exact same thing for you so that you target in-market shoppers for your brand of customers that purchase your vehicles. During my Viato days, helping car dealers appraise and price cars, everyone was asking me, what do I do on social media? What do I do with Facebook, Instagram, TikTok? And this was back in 2016. So here we are 10 years later. I started a company, became an entrepreneur, and now I help car dealers. They either outsource their social media needs to us, or we have a training and education center where we can teach all of your employees how to do social media in-house.
90% of consumers actually follow a business on Instagram. The average adult sits on TikTok for 2 hours a day in the rabbit hole.
To learn more information about it or to get a demo from one of my sales associates, click the link below. We would absolutely love to help you.
All right. Good morning. And just in case you don't agree with that, sitting on TikTok, I was actually watching on the weekend. I don't know if you're familiar with romance novels, but supposedly there's a new series of romance novel short snippet series. So they've taken the Cole's Notes version of romance novels, cut it down to 1 or 2 minute segments, and it's trending very heavily, not only in China, but also in the US. It is the #1 watched content by women in both markets. So it's kind of interesting that they've taken that, I guess, trashy romance novel and condensed it down to the bare minimum. I thought that was really interesting. But since Jodi is new to the show, never been on before, I thought we would start with Jodi. And in full disclosure, Jodi is one of the sponsors of the show. She works with Brandy. So Jodi, introduce yourself and talk a little bit about how MotoClose and you guys are getting ahead of the market chaos that's happening this year all over the place. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So I started with Brandy, MotoClose and Diskloz about a year ago. Prior to that, I did a short stint with the startup, working heavily building an AI bot. Before that, I was a Vin Solutions performance manager for almost 5 years. So been in the industry for 17. You know, I think one of the biggest things that Brandy and I wanted to do was really to kind of streamline things. You know, I think in our experience, dealers, you know, are expected, you know, sales managers, GMs, salespeople having, you know, their eyes on so many different places. And what we're trying to do is really bring in and keep it simple. You know, you have your customer data, your finance. We just are a dealer track approved. So, you know, we're being able to push. We've got our inventory, our photos, social media sharing is done in just a couple of clicks, just like the sponsor on the video. You know, let us help you, you know, streamline, be better, you know, with all the chaos. There's so much, you know, talk about, you know, I'm Canadian, I'm from Vancouver Island. It's today's a big day, but no matter what, everything comes back to our customers.
Yep.
That has never changed. The customer experience all starts with, like you said, Ian, earlier, is process.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Putting our people, training our people. I think that, like, really, I mean, we sound and hear it all the time about getting back to basics, but, you know, I think that's really important. Clean data, especially with all this AI, you know, the ability to give our customer even a worse experience is there. So I think keeping it simple, making sure you have your ducks in a row before, you know, you're going crazy with the AI. Work harder. Work smarter, not harder. AI can be a really great tool as long as we use it right.
Fantastic. And for those of you who live in the greater Vancouver area, I was really sorry to hear about the mass chaos and death at an event there. So my prayers are with you. Go ahead, Todd. Talk a little bit about AI, a little bit about you, because you're the AI mastermind, at least that I know, and what you're experiencing this year with the chaos and how, you know, your clients are adapting to that and staying ahead of it.
Yeah, so my name's Todd Smith. I'm the CEO of a company called Quore.ai. Our #1 goal is to organize that chaos, I think, for dealers. our focus has been deeply in connecting all the disparate data. I think that's the underlying problem in our industry is disconnected systems that are all doing tasks. And unfortunately, all that data does not come back together in any normal system. So we've been doing that exactly for auto groups, bringing all the data in across different systems and then normalizing it, and then going through the hygiene process and then enhancing that data. So we have deep partnerships with Equifax and other large companies where we can take the dealers, what we call transactional data, the sales data, service data, website data, and then add all the behavioral data on top of it. So I think for 2025, dealers' number one focus should be around hygiene, like getting your data clean and organized. And why I say that is what sets up success with AI. AI needs to run on clean data. It needs to run on what's called vector or graph data that's organized and in a format that's very easy for AI to understand. Without that, you're going to have continued chaos, or we're going to see a bunch of AI widgets that really aren't accessing data. And unfortunately, they will create, as Jodi highlighted, a bad consumer experience. So number one thing will be data hygiene for 2025. If I was running for automotive president, that would be my catchphrase. So
make your data cleaner.
Yeah, no, make clean. So it's crazy. So we see, and just to give you some statistical understanding, email addresses decay at about 2.5% per month. So when you think about that and you clean your CRM once a year or once every so often, 30% of your emails will be bad. So that creates a huge amount of downstream problems with deliverability, you being quiet delivered, and a bunch of other things. So your email becomes very ineffective with bad data. Couple that with phone numbers, also, believe it or not, change at around 14%. Home addresses change, and especially if your dealership is located next to what I consider a more transient area or apartments, then you always have higher turnover. So all these things play into a factor, and people don't. A lot of times they switch cars and no one knows. So inside the DMS, we'll find anywhere between 30 and 40% of the consumers no longer drive the car that the dealer is marketing against. So the dealer in the DMS says they still own that Honda Accord, yet they traded it 2 years ago, and the dealer doesn't know any better. So I think, again, always back to my running on my platform of hygiene, clean your data first, keep it clean, because data is not a snapshot, it's fluid, constantly changing, it's constantly being added to and evolving. And we need to have a system in place that is addressing that, especially if dealers want to be able to leverage the coming hours of AI, machine learning, and all it's going to do for for a dealership organization.
Yeah, clean data 2026. Running for office. Go ahead, Mr. Troy Glenn. Go ahead.
Well, how do you follow clean data for 2026? No, I couldn't agree more. I think data needs to be clean, because there's, if you take a pile of garbage and run it through the best possible system in the world, you're just going to get slightly better garbage. So I empathize completely with that. I would say that, as far as the AI piece and how it works in today's unpredictable market, it's gonna shake out. And it's gonna shake out in a couple of different ways. And I think when we first saw AI come on to the scene, it was about customers' propensity to buy, a chatbot that gets people to come in and book an interview or an appointment in the store, or help someone book a service appointment easily enough. I think what we're going to find out is how a customer who is looking for a vehicle can then let that AI enabled in the website or within the system somehow steer them towards like a better used unit that doesn't have tariffs on it, that's in a price point that can move people cross platforms, that can do some interesting things. I'm really excited about that. And let's face it, as it learns, the hockey stick curve of learning is pretty rapid. We're seeing it all the time. I mean, we have 8 billion ROs at CDK in our learning data pool, not including the data that we buy, plus 2.6 petabytes of sales data. And so when we look at the fluidity of data, we can absolutely attest to that lake is rippling all the time. But it is exciting times for technology. And I think right now, if dealers are looking at technology, in the past, it might have been to try to squeeze some extra gross profit out or get some extra customers in the door, sell another 2 or 3 cars a month. Now I think dealers are looking to technology partners to help navigate all of this uncertainty with tariffs, with supply chain challenges. You know, what did we learn from COVID issues and chip shortages, and how's that going to happen this time if it happens and they don't change their mind at the 11th hour? So I think technology is going to have a different role than it did in COVID, but it's going to be very interesting to watch.
Fantastic. Mr. Larry, in store, and obviously with some views on how to adapt to the market chaos of 2025. And I'm sure
first of all, I was confused by Todd's comments. I can't imagine any dealership having sloppy data. I just never heard of that before. Next thing, Todd, you're going to tell me birds are flying and fish are swimming. It's like everything else. It's got to start from the top down. Because if your management is sloppy, if they don't insist on having the right information, you're never going to get the people under you to do it. So you want to take every bit of AI, every bit of technology that Jodi uses and Todd and my boy Troy, and then you want to combine it with being as human as possible. Because I have to take care of a bunch of business. Todd, I've been on the road since NADA. I've been in Georgia 4 times, Texas 4 times, Florida 3 times. It's like my wife doesn't recognize me. Okay. And all I can tell you is 2 or 3 times, because I was remote, I had to call banks or different things. You want to kill somebody after 19 prompts, and the fact that no matter what you do, you can't talk to a human being. So now more than ever, we need to use every bit of tech, because it'd be foolish to ignore it. But if we're not smiling, if we're not human, if we're not taking our time, we're dead. I think this is the easiest time to be successful and be rich, because most of the people around us are morons. And I don't want to get any letters from the Anti-Moron Defamation League. You all know what I'm talking about. So if we can just realize each customer's, I'm quoting my book, Ian, forgive me, is an annuity, not an annoyance. Realize how much money there is in each customer and how many referrals. There it is. Troy, I'm so happy. Did you see that? Troy had my book. Unfortunately, he pulled it out of either a dirty magazine or a racing book. But it's okay, Troy. We're going to tell CDK what you're doing in your spare time. See, I hang around with Jodi. When I hang around with Todd, I come right out of my shell. My shyness goes.
I heard you're not shy.
Definitely not. And if you want to get better at the phone side of the auto business or any business, we're doing a show next week called How to Give Good Phones. So if you need some help with phone skills, we will be talking about phone calls. That would be
wait a minute, Ian.
with one of these devices or whatever your preferred device is.
The phones.
Yeah.
I mean, Steve Jobs must have really hated humanity because the damage he's done to people. They don't know how to spell. They don't know how to add and subtract. Yeah. They don't know how to hold a conversation or look each other in the eye.
Agree. I mean, I think it's funny. I've learned phone skills for over 35 years. I started out selling life insurance out of the white pages where we started at A, but basic phone skills are needed. And not only that, they're more important now than they've ever been. I was actually on a call last week with a bunch of chief revenue officers from different industries. And one of them's new sales tactic was to send out pieces of mail, because nobody does it. I thought that was really interesting. I was like, interesting, mail. He wasn't targeting lots of people. He was targeting very specific people in a new way. And I thought that was really interesting because it reminded me of sending postcards almost 30 years ago to people just because they'd open it. Like because it's a postcard. What's on the other side? So
Nobody
it's kind
gets
of funny.
mail anymore.
Yeah, nobody gets mail.
And how about, Jodi, if we did handwritten mail? I just told a whole class of people.
You're leading right into my next section.
I told a whole bunch of people that the first year I worked at a dealership, I only worked there the last quarter, but I outsold everybody. And I sold a zillion cars, and I was real happy till it came to the holidays, and I got writer's cramp. So I then suggested that everybody in January go to the dollar store, now the $1.25 store, we'll talk about politics later, and buy every holiday card you possibly can. And every time you sell a car, address it, put your business cards in, seal it, and then in December, all you have to do is hand to get it stamped. If we just get back to being human, it makes all the damn difference in the world. Go ahead, Jodi.
That's like honestly what I opened with when you was like the tangible, right? So like the next section we're talking about is what can you do? Is the phone. Be prepared. That was one thing that my old dealer group taught me was do the research, be prepared, especially with our data in so many different places. When were they in for service? Were they in for service? You know,
But wait a minute, Jodi, I don't mean to be rude. The problem is if we try to get salespeople to prepare to use the phone, that means we have to interrupt them saying how there's no business. We wouldn't want to do that. Break their consistent pattern, you know what I mean?
Well, it's funny that you talk about that because really it's always been about customers. I don't think that's changed. What I think has changed with the AI piece is that collection of data, that ability to update data, to go to the clean data synopsis earlier, but also the ability to really reach out with purpose going, hey, I'm not sure if this record's right, knowing that 40% of it probably isn't right. Why don't we start by updating what car you actually have? Because I don't know if we got the right data here.
A good example, and I love when I get mail from car dealers that this store is a BMW store. It's 4 hours from my house. Okay, there are 20 BMW stores between me and this store, right? Which is fine. I've never owned a BMW. Nothing wrong with them, but I've never owned them. And my name is not Maurice. My address, and I went back and I looked. I was like, has this person ever owned my house? No. So how much did this cost? It's a 4-up postcard with first class mail. This is what, $1 or more?
$2.
$1.50 now. So this is a complete waste. And this is so common in our business because we continue to do a shotgun approach. And I think the one thing, once we clean data and AI is going to do, it's going to allow us to be far more laser focused and build a better experience with the customer. I mean, when I think about things, I think it's one is always identify the right customer first, right?
Yes.
Like, who should we go after? Because it's not everybody. There's only a certain set of people in my service. There's a certain set of people coming in for service that are potential trade customers. There's a certain set of people in my database that are buyers. There's a certain set. But what we do is we keep marketing to everyone. So what we're doing is training customers to ignore us. They're like, tune us out. So I think first is always like identify the right customers really fast. And I think a lot of this year is going to fall still around affordability. I know Troy mentioned like being able to do predictive modeling, to be able to know who's in market, obviously super still critical. And I also think who can afford what? I think that is a major driver that is left unsaid because customers are right now still coming in tons of negative equity that have been left over from post-COVID where everyone got gouged and now they're trying to trade out of products and it's not that easy. And now they're buying, I mean, think about it. We went from an average $450 car payment to over $700 average. That's insane when you think about it because our incomes haven't almost doubled. So when you think about this, how do you deal with affordability in this new world? And now look what's happening with tariffs. Look what's happening with what we're just going to deal with constraint around new inventory, which is going to drive used car prices through the roof, right? So we're going to have all these new exciting things to deal with. But in the end, I hope to see any new technology simplify the process. We have made buying a car the most complicated, convoluted thing in the entire world.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be nearly, listen, I sold cars forever and I've run stores. It doesn't need to be this complicated. We do it on purpose.
The KISS method, right?
We did it on purpose to confuse customers, to maintain control. But the problem is with the internet, I feel like that control is out there. I think we're trying to put fingers in a dam. I think it's the wrong play. I think transparency, you can still control narrative, you can still control the experience, and to me that adds value. So
yeah, I mean, when you look
you got to build trust with your customer, right? Like all those things that you're saying, transparent. And again, MotoClose, Diskloz, one of the things that we have done is when you're dealing with your customer, you can deal in your own language on our website. We offer over 250 languages. Right there, you're building a trust with your customer, giving them something that they want. They can go and find that information anywhere. We also, like if you get to the step of being able to do a credit app, we have the ability to send links to our customers where the salesperson doesn't do the information. The customer fills the information. It saves in our system automatically. Again, if we're not doing a little bit of preparation with our customers and building trust, we're not even listening. Like you're talking about COVID and all these people and the tariffs, and people don't really know. There's so much propaganda. There's so much out there. When was the last time we were considered a trusted source?
Oh, well, we never were. So. But I mean, you got Larry over there. He's waiting for the up bus to show up so he can sell some cars today. So,
Listen, it's the same old thing. It won't change if we're still in industry in 50 years.
Yeah.
If we don't prospect, if we don't work our own network, if we don't make it clear that we're running our business within someone else's without that service, you're never going to accomplish anything. This is not, the world is not a complicated place. We make it complicated. If you say, Larry, I'm a bum, I want to lay around my underwear and watch reruns and be on unemployment, I get it, you're an idiot. But why would people want to go to work and stare out the window all day and complain? If you don't access the fact, listen, everybody on this podcast knows the same facts I know. If you're fabulous, what are you going to close at 15, 18%? If it's repeat referral, it's 55%. And if you can write a referral check, it's 70%. So if you can close at 70, why would you want to close at 12? Why would you want to wait for a stranger to come in with an ad in his hand?
Yeah.
It's the same simplistic things over and over. But Todd and Troy and Jodi, is it any dumber than dealers? And I was a dealer, putting all the emphasis on the front end and not in fixed operations. Where you don't have to beg the OEM for products and for cars and worry about anything. Particularly, you would think every dealer would wake up now because people are keeping their cars for 12 years.
That's right.
By the way, Todd, I think the savior of this, and the only savior can be strong leasing programs. Because at least then, maybe the guy's paying $700, $800, $900, but it's 3 years and there's an end in sight. Because if not, 3 years from now, they come back and they're still buried by $10,000. Troy, you agree with me?
Not only do I agree with you about the leasing, I know.
Hold on, Troy. My parole officer, Peter Smith, just showed up. Apparently, the active race was starting to beat.
I totally agree with the leasing situation. I think we need to get back to more of that. And I think when the strategy to get rid of leasing at the beginning of COVID was it was absolutely the worst possible decision to make, because then we saw that big trough of good used vehicles not coming back into the market. We need to get back to that. I think 96-month terms are going to change people's buying patterns much more on their next purchase than any other price or rebate or anything factor would be. When I look at the other stuff we were talking about, Todd mentioned earlier something about the dealers. They make certain decisions because they want to maintain control. That is still the case. I mean, how many times have we gone in with our AI tools and said, you can customize it, set it up any way you want? And they want to know how many prompts deep before the AI robot sends them to
Yeah.
book an appointment immediately so they can get into the store. So again, there's got to be a change in psychology and attitude because all of the technology. So what was happening was dealers knew how to do it right. The technology was stupid. And we didn't know how to catch up. And all of a sudden now the technology is far outstripped what people can do and calculate in real time with much better accuracy, but they still know better than we do. And so getting the trust to the customers is the hardest job of the dealer. Getting the trust of the dealer is the hardest job of us third-party intermediaries. And I think if everyone lets their guard down a little bit, we might get a little bit further ahead and solve some of these problems. But you know, when I look at, you know, the biggest challenges that dealers have posed to us in the last little bit, you know, Larry said it himself, and now he's on the phone, so he's not going to hear me give him credit. Much more of a focus on fixed ops.
Yep.
Much more.
Yeah.
You know, much more of a focus on maintaining the relationships that you've got, as far as having the good overturn, even if it's from a CPO vehicle to a CPO vehicle to a CPO vehicle, much like a lease to a lease to a lease.
Yep.
Having that customer, and to Todd's point, if that data is garbage, then we don't know. But also, how many times do you have salespeople that have a funnel for the next, you know, lease expires in the next 12 months that haven't called those customers because they're too busy looking at YouTube videos or you know, making TikToks out in the lot, when they've got a list of customers they can start calling to say, hey, just wanted to double check, you still own that Nautilus? Awesome. How's it going? You got 12 months left in the lease. What are your plans? Can I show you something? Are you worried about tariffs? You know, things like that.
Have a conversation.
Yeah, but instead, we've got people, you know, they're running around their dealerships and hey, what kind of car do you drive? What kind of car do you drive? Who gives a crap? What I care about is how are you going to help me navigate all this uncertainty? And it's very, very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I was doing this part show on Friday, as I said, and does anyone want to hazard a guess? What's the average inventory of parts at a dealership today in dollar value?
$250,000?
Somewhere between $250,000 and $500,000, depending on the dealership. Some dealerships have over $1 million in inventory. And this is an area where basically they're not only not doing inventory regularly of what's in stock, they're also not updating pricing to do with price increases. It was shocking to me that just the amount of inventory that dealers are stocking, but more importantly, if I know a customer's keeping a car 12, 13 years, maybe they want accessories for that car. Maybe they're going to need to fix some stuff. Maybe, you know, they might want to customize it a little bit. They're not keeping it 4 years. They're keeping it 13. What dealership have you seen recently who's even merchandising in store when they don't have the new car or used car throughput they used to have? But when you look at that number, let's just say it's $500,000 in inventory. It's a scary number, but more importantly, no one's paying attention. Like the parts is an afterthought. Like what's back there? Oh, that's parts.
Bingo.
The only time is when they gotta do inventory.
Let me just jump in here for a second.
Yeah.
First of all, I've been driving, so I finally pulled over so you could actually see me and not be able to.
Don't drive in Zoom, man. Not a good idea. Yeah, go ahead.
So first of all, the car business is madness right now. Absolute madness. The dealers are working off a 50-year-old playbook that doesn't work anymore. They can't run the ball. They have to go to a different form of attack to score points, and they don't understand how to do it. They are lost. They are absolutely lost because technology, as was said, has far since surpassed them because the average dealer owner is in their 50s and doesn't understand technology.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. Next thing is, what they don't realize is the people that are buying cars off them are not the same age as they are. So therefore, those people are actually technology inclined, and they have an opportunity to understand that they can sit in front of a salesperson and get 5 quotes from 5 dealers and shop the deal right in front of them.
Yep.
Yet we want to turn around and be, pardon my French here, assholes about it, and we want to try and continue that relationship on a transactional basis rather than a relational sale. And with that, we're losing all our customers. We have a 38% trust factor in automobiles. We have a 70% turnover rate in variable. That means the average dealership is going to spend $3.2 million in turnover costs over a period of 1 year. 1 year, 3.2 million. So when we look at those numbers, it's absolutely incredible on what we think about. David Long said it best. There's the dealership that we run and the dealership that we think we run. And the second one is what everyone is. They run it like a car lot. It's a 30-day career because after 30 days, you get reevaluated on how good you are. And if you're not good enough, then you're part of that 70% turnover. It is ridiculous. We demand, and it's comical that you have dealerships out there with their sales boards saying 75 phone calls, 75 emails, 75 text messages, 20 social medias, 20 videos, 20 this, 20 this, and that's your daily routine. There is no possible way without full automation that a salesperson can do that to any type of clarity to a customer and actually get connectivity to that customer to turn them over. So people are getting burned out faster than they can say. They can't keep up with the job, and we're losing the first party data. Tim's going to come in on it next and talk about first party data, which is our goal that we've spent the $700 per customer to get them into our database. We're losing that, and we're increasing our acquisition cost to customers, and it's absolutely asinine. We are doing it so back-assward, it is not even funny. And what happens is you go to a dealer and you tell them that, they will turn around and they'll hoof you out of their dealership faster than you can shake a stick at, saying, you don't know. You don't know. And it's the unconscious and confident that we deal with in the automotive retail environment. They don't know that they don't know, therefore they don't know that they don't know. So we're in a challenge that we've never seen before as vendors, as dealers, as OEMs. We're in this huge challenge that we have to get to the progressives to start the early adoption of the new way of selling cars.
Well,
the
yeah,
new way of selling cars is full transparency because the customer can get it.
Well, but
the customer can get it.
But it's interesting you bring that up because I don't know if you saw the post from Benstock this morning, but he was talking about the elephant in the room in the U.S. market, which we've all talked about now for a couple of weeks, which is basically Canadian inventory on used cars is not going south because of tariffs. U.S. inventory is going to be hard to find and very expensive. So the carrying costs are going to be a problem. But more importantly, you've got to turn that inventory because it may still be cheaper than the price increases on new inventory. And nobody's talking about this. And it was such an obvious statement. But we have Mr. Tim Hayden, also from his car. Hopefully he's not driving. So Tim, tell us a little bit more about what you do and how do you get ahead of this chaos and change in 2025?
Well, I think, I dialed in when you were starting to go into aftermarket, right?
Yeah.
And this is the jam. We've got 4 dealers right now that we have a combination of Telium and Snowflake running in, and there are different stages in this journey. But the overarching story here is that it is not about selling cars. It is not. It is about growing lifetime value on an individual basis with every single person who's done a build and price, who's bought a spark plug, a cabin air filter, a wiper blade, or got an oil change from you, as much as it is anybody who bought a vehicle from you. So the thing that we're talking about here is when I think this is what Peter was talking about. For 3 years, I've been joining you crazy Canadians talking about this stuff, but it's first party data, right?
Yep.
It's the people that you already know that are your golden ticket to the future. And that right there, this is where Larry comes in, is how to build the customer relationship was about building confidence and trust and being utilitarian to say, I'm going to help you lower your cost of ownership. I'm going to do other things. That's the coming wave, because you said 2025 is why am I allowing, just like I would Meta or Alphabet, or in this case, and I'm probably revealing something here, but why would I allow Ford and Ford Pass to be the one that dictates what the relationship looks like, when there's a company like Smart Car around that'll allow me to pull DTC codes and be proactive with my customers to say, you should come by and see us, right? Because we want you to have a nominal investment or nominal cost of what it's going to take to maintain or repair something, rather than just waiting for your check engine light to come on and coming to see us. And we charge you $400 for a diagnostic read that tells you that, when way less than $400, I can know in real time what's going on. So the dealers that are out there right now that I think are going to persevere and they're going to buck or defy the trends are going to do exactly what you were saying on the aftermarket, the total relationship and the total relationship value. The ones that look at that as the prize rather than just selling cars. So, Peter said so much of it already. And I know Todd's here, and Todd's with me on the first party data side of things. He's got a very different way of the way he looks at it than I do, but we have the same end story in terms of what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, preventative maintenance, prepaid maintenance, reduced maintenance cost, customized vehicle. Like, these are all things you should be saying right now. And maybe, I don't know, to quote Todd, update your file.
How about this one solution here? You can go online. I can get a trade-in valuation from 5 different sources. Give me an instant cash offer. I can go online. I can find a price on a vehicle, penny perfect. I can do all that. I don't have to meet a manager. I don't have to talk to anybody except for the one box that I'm talking to. Why does it then, when I go into the lot, that I have to go through 18 hoops, speak to 5 different people, and spend 4.5 hours trying to get a price that I already have?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what dealers don't get. No one leaves until the manager speaks. Well, hold on. What? Do you talk to does the manager talk to every online lead? No. Well, is there a hypocrisy there? And
100%.
That's the biggest check.
100%. When I look at what Slate's doing, not to beat them up or not to endorse them, but obviously when you see a rapid increase in pricing for new car pricing over the last 5 years, the obvious next move is to flip it on its head and go, maybe customers want a basic car and want to customize it. Maybe they want a lower cost car. And more importantly, why don't we have that? Like that to me is a no-brainer. Like, okay, let's go back to pickups with no features that are affordable. Let's go back to sedans with no features that are affordable. And let's make it affordable for the young people or older people maybe need a car because it's 13 years old to change the car. But more importantly, and I've had discussions with a bunch of dealers about this, the OEM seems to be like, well, let's wait and see. Not to beat them up, but you got to do something now or you're going to be behind the 8 ball. Go ahead, Truck.
Wait and see is the tough one, right?
Yeah.
And we're 5 years post COVID.
Yep.
And the one thing about COVID is that all the dealers panicked because they didn't know how it was going to go, right? They didn't know if they were going to get units. They weren't going to get inventory. Some did, some didn't. Didn't know what the used car market was going to do. Didn't know what fixed ops was going to do. There's a lot of uncertainty. And in that time of uncertainty, there was about 10% of dealers did anything they could do to panic to grab whatever solution they could that they thought was going to lifeboat their store, and the other 90 did nothing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so, because a friend of mine owned a car wash, one of those 10-bay wand wash things.
Yeah.
And he said that, and I said, it must suck. Like when it's going to rain, you must lose business. He's like, no, when it rains, that's not the worst day for me. The worst time for me is when it's going to rain in 3 days. Because why would I spend money if I think in the next 3 days it's just going to be wasted? It's that unknown in that ambiguous timing of the 3-day gap. So right now, we don't know what's going to happen with tariffs. We don't know what's going to happen to used cars. We don't know if, are we going to be able to import this model from Mexico because we can't get it from Kentucky anymore? Are we going to bring in cars that are, more Korean cars? Are we going to be able to get this and that? I don't know. And nobody else does either. And a customer who maybe had their heart set on a vehicle would buy a certified pre-owned or a pre-owned. Well, now that vehicle's $4,000 or $5,000 more.
Yeah.
And so what's going to happen is dealers are going to be faced with customers that are doing the same thing as they are, which is they're going to slow down. So, Jodi and Todd, you guys are talking about the phone. I mean, it's going to have to get back to, and I've said this in a million AI shows on this channel before, it doesn't matter how good you are at the AI stuff if you're shitty at the human stuff.
Yeah.
You've got to be good at the human stuff, because if someone either mashes zero, walks into the store, sends an email that needs a human response, calls however the leads come in. If you don't have the human stuff right, no amount of technology is going to save you from crashing into the wall. And I think that, as with COVID, the dealers that get it, that do the human stuff right, that treat the customers well, that give them the kinds of things they need, that set them up for, maybe it's prepaid service packages, or they do the accessorizing on site, or they have a technology for booking, like a dentist, where I'm not going to let you walk out the door till you book your next appointment. But all of those things, if you can just do those things, then the technology it'll drive. But it's up to you to set the cruise control speed, aim it down the road, and make sure it knows where it's going. And I'd like to see that in this time of uncertainty, stores and dealers and salespeople and everybody just, I don't want to say get back to basics, because that can mean so many different things to so many different people, but just get good at being a human and start with that.
Yeah, well, but the other thing, Troy, and I think it's something people haven't really talked about much, at least I haven't seen it, is obviously there's some learnings from COVID that we can learn this time. Obviously, it's a little different, but I always go by the quote that if we don't learn from the past, we're doomed to repeat it. So what we need to do is look at the wins from COVID, where dealers didn't do what the other dealers were doing, rightly or wrongly, and how can you adapt that to what's going on now, but more importantly, look for the opportunities. Service and parts to me is a no-brainer, but more importantly, to Todd's point with data, it's an opportunity to get a better sense of where your customers are now to predict where they're going to be in 6 months to a year, because that's really what you got to get ahead of it at that point. So Todd, maybe you could talk a little bit about data and what you're seeing there.
Yeah. So look, let's take it even one step further. I think it's part of getting into the customer's head, right? So can I share my screen?
Of course you should be able to.
Okay.
One second.
Here.
No, 1 second. One second.
Yeah.
You're good to go.
Okay. So here, you don't want that. That's all email. Oh, hold on. Here. So this is just ChatGPT, off the shelf, basic, nothing special. Okay. So I now I'm a customer. So I'm like, hey, can you help me buy a new Toyota in Orlando? So it's like, sure. Gives me, here's the 2 stores, right? Tells me all the trims of, and let's pretend I knew nothing about Camrys.
Okay.
Like, okay. Gives me my pricing overview, starting MSRP at $28,855, right? For base hybrid model trims. I said, okay, here are the key features: powertrain, all-wheel drive, fuel economy. Then it's like, okay, what do you want to do next? Determine your trim, contact the store, explore financing. This is this is the best digital retail process. Hold on. And this is just stock, right?
Yeah.
So it says, okay, a question. So here, help me compare the options for a Camry. I drive to the office on the highway, which is 20 minutes each way. Then I usually drive a lot on the weekend, take my son around because I am my kid's Uber. Okay, this is cool. I'm just trying to figure it out. So cool, got it. I know commute. So comfort's going to be important for repetitive daily driving. Efficiency, you're going to want that. Reliability, safe with kids in the car. Storage, kids stuff, weekend trips, smooth ride, tech convenience. Now let's compare the trims. So now it's doing the work for me. comparing the trims, right?
Yeah.
Here it is. Comparing me which one, if I get the base, what I'm going to have. It's going to be less sporty, basic interior, and gives me a little bit of cloth seats. So give me a little bit of frame there. And then, okay, but as a customer, you should focus on this. Do you want all-wheel or four-wheel? Well, I live in Orlando, so I don't need all-wheel drive, right? I have no mountainous terrain in Florida. I have flat, right? Fuel economy, though, that's important. So we definitely want an LE gets higher, slightly better than the SE or XSE, right? Tech, do you want a big screen or little screen? Doesn't matter to you. Ride comfort. I will tell you, very few salespeople will know the car is good enough to even ask these questions. and ChatGPT is doing a good job so far. So I said, okay, it gives me my straight advice. It says, if you just want to maximize comfort for your highway driving and hauling and prefer quieter, softer ride, get the XLE. If you want a little bit more style feel and you're okay with the firmer ride, and you can save a few grand, get the SE. Now, if you want the best of both, get the XLE front wheel drive is your move. And then gives me a recap of it. It says, what next? What do you want me to help you do? So he goes, I can pull together a live dealer pricing, all your stuff. So I said, okay, yeah, let's do that. So let's dive in. What deals are available right now? So it is, here are the Toyota deals out of Toyota of Orlando on a 2025 hybrid, $199 for 36 months. Obviously, map pricing, so all this is out there. Can't hide behind that. A ton is due at signing on that particular deal. Dealer fee, first month payment, 12,000 miles a year. Option to purchase at lease in. This is a 720 Beacon score required. Ends April 30th, so in a few days. Central Florida, they did a $229 or $299 a 36 month, but half the money down, no security deposits waived. Or I said, okay, well, what about financing offers? So here it gives me all the financing, special rates for college graduates, dealer locations. Now, what do you want to do the next steps? I said, well, I want a white one and tan, and it has to have CarPlay. So here again, goes through, recaps my stuff, gives me the suitable trims that will meet what I need as like attributes, right? Shows me what's available in Orlando. And next step, you want to contact the dealer, schedule a test drive, explore. Can you compare the lease versus the finance? I'm a kid, I don't know, right? So maybe I want to look at both. So now it compared both options completely. I'm going to tell you, I don't understand how anything we have in auto is going to compete with this.
It's not. But more importantly, why aren't these salesmen in a dealership going, hey, let's plug this in and see what they say versus what I think, right?
Yeah. Now, look, these all will have a little drift, and you cannot be 100%. Like, you still want to verify things today. But I will tell you, if I took all this same data and I have it on the dealer's own LLM running, it's 100% accurate. It's going to be right to like payment perfect, accurate. And I'm going to say, I can go through and audit this. I bet you it's 90-some% accurate, just off shelf. And there's probably a little bit of tweaks.
But it's the lesson that isn't to be learned from COVID. It's to be learned from Amazon. Everybody hates Amazon, giant company. They hate small companies, but everybody uses them because they make it easy.
Yep.
People want convenience. They want things to be as easy and as quick as possible. Think how people freak out if it takes 10 more seconds for their computer to boot up.
That's right. Well, think about it. Go through any DR tool on a dealer's website. I got to put in all my info to get anywhere, to get pricing. Everything is hidden. Like, I will tell you, the water always flows.
Wait a minute. Peter Smith is itching to use his world famous analogy that if you call the airlines, you hit 2 buttons and your flight is booked. But imagine if you called and they said, well, we'll let you know the price after we figure out which seat you want to sit in, and we'll get back to you, and then find it with how many of these dealers have broken links.
But you could do the same thing for airlines, Larry. Like, where are you flying? I'm flying from here to here. Okay, what airline? and Google has a back end you could tune into, but you could do the same thing. Okay, I want to sit in this seat. What time of the year? When should I book it? What airline has the best reference? You know, what are the upgrades cost?
Wait a minute,
Same thing.
and I'm sensitive about this because
Okay.
I flew to Dallas on Frontier.
Okay.
And it's the only airline, Troy, I've ever been in where they pay to not have you sit on the wing. If you actually want to sit in the plane, it's a little bit of an extra charge.
Oh man, we're almost out of time.
We're
We're almost out of time.
Larry, because you are the true gremlin. So.
You know, yeah, it's interesting. I really do think this whole thing, and I'm still a little taken aback by that whole demo Todd just did, and why I love it is it's like to your point, 95%. You could refute maybe 5%, but you would sit in front of a dealer, they would absolutely lose their mind and say it's all bullshit, and then you say, okay, where has it gone wrong? And let's start at the top and go down, and they won't find holes. What they're starting to see is panic because they're realizing that there's a lot of stuff in here that they're not doing well, or that this free tool that anyone can have is doing it better than their salespeople can do.
But Troy, let me ask a question. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you imagine having kids and never checking out if your kids are healthy or what they're doing or who their friends are?
Yeah.
The reason why my
Great analogy.
well is I'm so paranoid. I was always worried somebody was screwing up or I screwed up, and I tried to look at everything so much I got a little obsessive. But how?
Oh, you muted. There we go. Larry,
You muted yourself. Larry got so excited he muted himself.
Listen, it's what you've all wanted to do. Let's not let it get forced in the mouth. The point is, how many times do dealers look? The reason so many dealers get in trouble is not that they're not good people or smart people. It's that they take their eye off the ball.
They're not inspecting what they expect.
Right.
You know what it is?
Whatever.
There is a great book everyone should read. It's called Mindset. And it's by Carol DeWicki, I think. And there are only two types of humans. People with fixed mindsets who are in a pattern of reinforcing what they already believe, and open mindset, which they're receptive to things. And I think Eric Schmidt, the old CEO of Google, last week was in an interview, and I watched it. I made my son watch it at 15. I said, if this doesn't frighten you about what you're going to be living through, and I'm 53, so I'm on the older side of this, but what's going to happen over the next very short period of time with these technologies is in our hand, we are going to have the smartest human that has ever lived. Yeah. It'll do everything we want. It'll be the best lawyer. It'll be the best accountant. It'll be the best doctor. It's going to do amazing things for us. Selling cars is a very basic thing. You know, when they are doing things now that, you know, the CEO of DeepMind said, which was, you know, within 10 years, they are probably going to solve disease because of the advances. And this is coming from the guy who solved the most difficult protein line, which it took 50 years, and AI solved it. I will tell you, we are unprepared for what's about to happen to us. And that little demo, that's like a joke. That's me just typing a few things in. That's not even tweaking LLM.
Todd, if you go to the world's most brilliant doctor and there's no empathy, yeah, you're probably going to die. As opposed to, we're going to do everything humanly possible to save you. We might even try an experimental thing. Because as smart as these machines get, and obviously they can correlate information, unless you're some kind of savant autistic person, much quicker than a human being can, but they still can't empathize. They still can't put their arm around you and say, man, I know what you mean. Yeah, the interest rates are a little high. Let's work together.
Well, listen, I will tell you, for doctors, having that's a hard thing to find.
Absolutely.
Okay. It's more like, hey, you have blood cancer. We're going to need to run more tests, and you know we got to deal with it. So,
well, isn't that an example of technology triumphing, although triumph's the wrong word, over being a human being?
Well, listen, the most amazing thing, I mean, for me, even personally, so I get my blood test every quarter, and then I'll upload it, and I'll say, give me my supplements I need to be optimized, right? Do I need NAD this time? Do I need more C? Do I need D because I'm not outside? Because, sun's bad for me? Whatever this is. And it's funny because I'll send it to my doctor and my doctor will just go, yeah. You're my own GPT now that I have continued to develop. I feel it's getting smarter and smarter. And I feel like these things are going to aid us in new ways. Now, I get the idea of personalization. I get the idea of the human factor that these systems aren't built for today. Don't expect that in 20 years. I don't know what happens. I don't think any of us know when the wheels come off this bus. But the glimmering thing, what I see, and again, talking to other guys in the industry, whether it's guys at OpenAI or guys at Anthropic, things or NVIDIA, this is not tech. This is a species that is being unleashed, and it's learning and it's changing. And even in our little Quore.ai, which I call the pimple of AI in the real world of AI, right? I look at things and like we have constantly been cleaning data, right? So we have all these little scrubbers that are looking at, because as Troy said, bad data comes into CRM, DMS every day. Fat fingered, it has a .com instead of com, it has a comma instead of a period, it has no all capitalization, constant challenges and problems all the time. So we have wrote software that monitors it and it fixes it. Cool, no big deal. And now, like about 2 weeks ago, our lead engineer, we were looking, and somebody must have put 2 zeros on a vehicle inventory. Now, we didn't do this on inventory pricing, but someone put 2 extra zeros. So that Toyota Tacoma became $5.8 million. The system went and corrected it. We never trained the system to do it.
Yeah.
So what we're seeing now is not only are they getting smarter, they're able to self-correct.
Yep.
And not only that, they're able to take on things that even they were not asked to take on. And to me, that's this world we're about to enter. And we're at the bottom of a curve, guys. We haven't seen anything yet. But we're also entering a time when things are going to change faster than are going to feel comfortable for us.
Yeah.
Because we're very linear creatures. We believe in, and this is why I think, Troy, we were talking like car dealers in general, or Larry, we would agree. We're like, no, it won't happen that fast, because we're trying to will status quo because our brains are hardwired to status quo.
Right. And Todd, by the way, I was thinking, because you and me are buddies, I was thinking about what you said with the blood test every 3 months.
Yeah.
Screw it. Just eat a lot of pizza and Nestle's Crunch Bars. You're going to die anyway. You might as well have some fun.
Listen, I'm trying to optimize myself, man.
I wanted to know there'd be like dietary recommendations to that.
Yeah. Well,
Well, we are out of time is the problem, but go ahead and anyone have final thoughts?
Sorry, I just have one more thought, and it's funny, Todd, that last comment you just made, that whole section of this is coming and here's how it's learning and it's going to be great. We struggle, as we said about 45 minutes ago, getting dealers to trust technology sometimes because they think they can do it better. When you show that ChatGPT conversation and they realize, okay, well, maybe this thing could be a little bit more trustworthy. Then when you show a system that can auto-correct errors that are pricing errors, that it's learning what your pricing methodology is. And I think what's going to happen is they are going to either respond one of two ways. They're going to trust and lean in and love it, or they're going to say, this is going to be the end of me and my people because it now knows more than me. It's gone. And so we're going to see a real division, I think, coming up soon of adopters versus not. And it's going to be the same one that, Larry and Ian, you and I saw 15 years ago, 10 years ago, when dealers are like, I don't need a website. I advertise.
I got Yellow Pages.
What's a website going to do, right? I got a full page ad in every second newspaper, twice on Saturdays. I'm good. I don't need a website. And now here we are. So who knows what it'll be in 10 years, but I think in the next 10 years, you're going to see a lot of technology averse dealers selling their stores.
Hey, Troy, it's,
Yeah.
you're looking for the quote from Bob Dylan, "From the times they are a-changing, you better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone." Because if
Yeah.
you think this stuff's gonna go away, you're a fool. You better get ahead of it. You better
Yeah.
grasp it as much as you can, and you better let your people understand they need to absorb it, wrap their hands around it, and not be afraid of it. Good seeing
100%.
you, Troy.
Have yourself a great week. Thanks, Jodi, and everybody
Thank
else.
you.
All right.
Thanks
See
so
you,
much,
Todd.
guys.
See you, Todd.
Bye, guys.
Bye.